Hi friends, let's paint California poppies together using watercolors. As I recently walked along a sunlit railroad path, I became fascinated by the California poppies, thriving in harmony among various plants. And today I would love to paint these beautiful flowers that embody everything wonderful about the place I call home. As we bring the vivid California poppies to our canvases, we celebrate not only their warm glowing hues, but also the unique spirit they represent.
Why did you come?
Okay, Eddie and I are back in our home and ready to start painting with you. These are the colors I chose for today's painting: cadmium-free yellow, green gold, Pthalo turquoise, cerulean blue hue, ultramarine blue, permanent alizarin crimson, opera pink, and transparent orange. You noticed how I also added burnt umber to the palette. However, I ended up mixing my own browns using the colors we have in our palette. Today I would like to show you several fundamental watercolor techniques that may help you in your painting journey. We'll mix colors, experiment with the wet-on-wet technique, and apply layers of color to add dimension to our painting. Throughout the session, I will reach for a variety of brushes to create unique textures and effects, and I will talk about them as we move along. If you are here to paint along with me or just to unwind from your hectic day, please make yourself comfortable, grab a warm beverage, settle in, and let's begin. As I sketch the outlines of the scene, my mind drifts to John Steinbeck's vivid portrayal of California poppies in East of Eden. His words paint a picture so vivid, it's as if the golden blooms are springing to life right before my eyes. Here is the direct quote: "These two are of a burning color, not orange, not gold, but if pure gold were liquid and could raise a cream, that golden cream might be like the color of poppies." And now we'll aim to capture that stunning warm orange cream color of the California poppies in our painting. Steinbeck's poetic description of these flowers will guide our brushes as we mix our warm hues to replicate their vibrant, sunlit beauty on our paper. I really enjoy this stage when I apply the first layer of color. It's a moment filled with freedom and creativity for me. This initial application sets the tone for the entire artwork, even though I know about 30% of the color saturation will fade as the paint dries. That's just the nature of watercolor. For the poppies, I've used cadmium-free yellow to capture their radiant warmth under direct sunlight. I've also brushed yellow along the lower part of the painting. Soon this yellow will blend with blues to create various greens. Right now our paper is thoroughly wet but not overly soaked. This is the time when you can freely play with colors. It's an ideal time to add and adjust hues freely with your brush, shaping the flowers and setting the atmosphere of our piece as we go. Here I've decided to introduce some pink into our first layer. I will also use this color in mixing the orange hues for our poppies. This is why I decided to infuse the air of the painting with this color, adding a subtle warmth throughout the scene. As we progress, you'll notice me dabbing away excess water and pigment from the edges of the paper. I just want to prevent unwanted watercolor blooms in the areas I don't want them to be. The paper is still fairly moist, allowing me to continue building the first layer. I'm now preparing to introduce cerulean blue hue to our surface. This cool color will suggest the presence of sky, and when blended with the yellow already on the paper, will give rise to subtle greens at the base, suggesting grassy foreground. For this task, I'm opting for a large mop brush rather than a smaller calligraphy brush. The larger brush allows me to cover more area with fewer strokes, which helps maintain the freshness of the paint application. I'm careful to apply the blue gently, mindful not to disturb the pink and yellow layers we've laid down already. This stage of the painting might seem overwhelming, and I remember feeling that way when I first started, but I've learned to embrace the process. With the colors we've chosen, even if the blues mix slightly with the pink and yellow, I feel like we won't end up with muddy hues. One of the essential tips I've learned over the years about watercolor painting, especially when working wet on wet, is that each new layer of paint on your brush should be less watery than the previous one. This concept can be tricky for beginners who are just starting to understand paint consistency. It took me years of experimenting with watercolors, loading my brush, applying strokes, feeling the paint glide over the paper before I could intuitively grasp this. If you're just starting out, here's a practical way to get a feel for different paint consistencies. Begin by mixing a very watery puddle of paint. Think of this as having the consistency of skimmed milk. Next, mix a puddle that resembles whole milk. It should be less watery and have a bit more body. Finally, create a mixture that's creamy with more paint than water. Experiment with these different consistencies by applying them both wet on wet and wet on dry, layering them to see how they interact. This will help you understand how to handle paint of various consistencies effectively. As I notice the sheen on my paper starting to fade, I am now applying paint with a creamy consistency. I've blended pinks with ultramarine blue to create soft violet, reminiscent of other flowers I encountered during my walk the other day. The subtle addition of violet adds a beautiful depth and variety to our painting. For the greens as well, I'm using a mix that's richer in paint than water. This ensures that the strokes I lay down are less watery, which will help contain the shapes of the strokes and prevent color from spreading uncontrollably. If you feel like you still have questions about this watercolor skill, please let me know in the comments below, and I will create another video tutorial covering this concept in depth. Also, if you ever find yourself feeling rushed because your paper is drying too quickly, there are a couple of strategies you can use to extend your working time. One effective method is to keep a fine spritzer handy. A quick spritz over the surface can keep the paper moist, giving you more time to apply your colors without the stress of drying too fast. As for the painting itself, I'm now varying the ratios of green gold, Pthalo turquoise, yellow and blue to create the grasses and stems for our flowers. You may notice me switching between different brushes, moving from a small size 4 round brush for finer details to a size 10 round brush for broader strokes. I also use a Dagger brush for the longer blades of grass. This variety in brush size and shape allows me to express the shapes, texture, and the movement of the grasses. Before I began painting California poppies, I spent time carefully observing their unique structure and life cycle. In bloom, these flowers are cone-shaped with 4 distinct petals each, emerging upward from a ring at the base of the ovary. Some petals appear curled at the edges, while others are foreshortened or elongated, creating a varied appearance. In this painting, I wanted to capture the California poppies at different stages of their life. Initially, they are enclosed in a thin paper-like cone. Gradually, this cone falls away, revealing glowing golden bloom beneath. As the flowers mature, the petals begin to shed, making way for the sword-like seed pod that elongates before eventually falling to the ground, scattering seeds for the next year's bloom. I never looked so intently at any flower as I have at the California poppies. Their striking golden hue captivated me, drawing me into a deeper appreciation of their beauty and compelling me to share this fascination with you through my art. The California poppy with its radiant golden blooms holds a deep symbolic value that mirrors the diverse landscapes of the state it represents. Officially declared the state flower of California in 1903, it embodies the golden hues of the state's sun-drenched terrain. The flower's ability to close its petals at night or during cloudy days lends it a symbolic connection to themes of sleep and rest, while its resilience and thriving across California's varied climates speaks to themes of adaptability and survival. In literature, the California poppy signifies not only physical beauty, but also the ephemeral nature of life, akin to the fleeting vibrancy of the flowers themselves, which bloom brightly but briefly. Writers like John Steinbeck have immortalized these poppies in their works, often highlighting their intense liquid gold appearance that draws the eye and captures the imagination. And through these depictions, the California poppy remains a cherished symbol of natural beauty and resilience, inspiring awe and reflection among those who observe it. Dear friends, let's gently transition to the next phase of our painting. In this stage, we'll refine the shapes of our flowers by layering more intense saturated orange colors. Sometimes, I'll mix transparent orange with a bit of alizarin crimson to achieve darker, deeper values. This will help our poppies have more definition and help them stand out. Additionally, by varying the ratios of our greens, yellows, and blues, we'll define the stems and foliage of the flowers more clearly. This adjustment will also bring greater definition to the grassy foreground, enhancing the depth and texture of our scene. I hope you can see how our first wash has served as a foundation, bringing all the elements of our painting together. It feels as though we are capturing a scene set in the sunny spring mid-morning with a gentle breeze rustling the blades of grass. You can almost hear the birds singing, busily preparing their nests for newly hatched chicks, while insects seek shade among the flower petals and grasses. The spring day in our painting is brimming with warmth and the promise of sunshine. Each stroke and color choice we've made adds to the feeling, creating a vibrant, lively setting of nature at its most active and beautiful. At this stage, we'll dive deeper into defining our painting's details and refining the shapes of our subjects. It's time to introduce shadows cast by nearby plants. This means selecting darker values for each color in our palette to enhance contrast and definition. As we adjust these darker tones, we'll carefully shape the contours of each element, from the delicate petals of the poppies to the slender stems and textured grass. The shadows will help anchor each plant in the landscape, suggesting the subtle interplay of light and form. I would like to take a moment to extend my heartfelt gratitude and thanks to each and every one of you for watching and supporting my work. Your engagement means the world to me. If you are interested in learning more about beautiful world of watercolor painting, please check out my other tutorials in the Watercolor Basics and Watercolor Stories playlists. These are crafted especially for you, covering everything from the fundamentals to more narrative-driven personal watercolor stories. And some of you already know that watercolors have brought an incredible amount of joy and solace into my life, especially during some of its toughest moments. They've been a therapeutic outlet for managing the chronic pain I face almost daily, and have given me hope for a brighter future. This channel is more than just a place to showcase my art, it's a platform for connection, where I can share what I've learned and hopefully make a positive impact in your lives as well. Just like the California poppies we've been painting today, which are celebrated for their resilience and the way they bring beauty and life to their surroundings, I hope you too are able to find a source of inspiration and comfort in the place you live now. And I hope we can thrive together as a community who loves watercolors. These resilient flowers, blooming brightly amidst challenging conditions, symbolize our collective potential to find beauty and strength no matter where we are. friends, I wish for all of you to experience creative moments where you find inspiration in your corner of the globe and capture it with all the colors of the rainbow. Keep painting, keep exploring the unique and beautiful nature of watercolor media. I love you with all my heart, and I send you peace and joy wherever you are.